It is finally time for a review of our 4 weeks of training. And boy, do I have some good sessions to go through, going from pole work to boosting our confidence with some gymnastics by the end. And we're starting off with one of our dressage lessons in the arena. But first, let's talk a little bit about the grooming and tacking up that goes on before and after the riding session. I remember being 10 to 15 years old, when I didn't really appreciate what goes on unless it's the riding session itself. Fast forward to today, where I think about the grooming session to almost be our most important hour of the day. There is so much communication between horse and rider that goes on while grooming and tacking up that I do think I took for granted when I was young. I guess I wasn't as reflected or open to that kind of communication at that time. I guess I thought the communication for the most part was happening while riding. Well, today I look at it with new eyes, and can I just say how much I appreciate going to the stable, spending time with Chica, and getting to know her through our grooming sessions. I've been truly enjoying our grooming sessions, and I think this is a great arena to get to know each other, and also making me able to read her body language more accurate and nuanced. But let's get into our first documented dressage lesson. For this session, we had two main goals. Number 1, work on our leg yields, and number 2, we're gonna try out some parts of a dressage program around the Norwegian standard called LB, or as you would say in Norwegian, lettbe. The leg yield work is inspired by Ruby Hughes, starting from the 3/4 line, doing the leg yield towards the wall. This has been super helpful for us, and I think she could find it easier to use the wall as a supportive wall when working through these kind of exercises. We've also kept up the work with our transitions from trot to canter, and as you can see here, Chica clearly knows what I'm asking her to do, but we lack the rhythm and support to pull through the transition. On my part, I also struggle with giving her the signal at the right step, so this continues to be something we'll work on in the future. But even though we still have more work to do, I also think Chica is improving so fast. Bless her, she's trying so hard and her work ethics been super high. It makes it so much fun to work together. Now onto our LB Lettbe dressage program. The program that I chose and the parts from this particular program focused mainly on trot circles, diagonals, walk trot transitions and bigger circles with canter. Just the basics to kind of see how we do when you need to keep the work for several minutes and through several exercises. Normally, Chica would get more breaks in between these kind of exercises to help her wrap her head around what just happened and to prepare her for what's coming next. During the program, I noticed Chica getting kind of hot in between the canter trot transitions, so you'll also see us losing our balance sometimes. But overall, I'm super pleased with this lesson. I think we got some good highlights and also some stuff we need to work with, such as balance and timing. But you already know, we love our hikes outside. We've been super blessed by nice weather, and I even got my husband out for a small hike. I was so proud of him. Although I think it's nice that spring is just around the corner, I do like the snow and also how bright and light everything seems while the ground is covered in snow. So for now, let's just appreciate a couple minutes of hiking outside in the winter weather. But we must not forget, how did it go with our jumping lessons? So for those of you who don't know, Chica is as of now 5.5, and she started her education in jumping just last August, which means that she's had less than a year with jumping and pole work. Chica's had great development within dressage, and when I first test rode Chica, she struck me as a young horse with a great platform and dressage education that I can work with and take further into the show jumping arena. So for this jumping lesson, we mainly focused on trot poles, and then after a while going from the trot pole through a canter transition and then over some canter poles. After doing this a couple of times, we then moved on to some smaller fences and easy lines. So here you'll see us simply just focusing on keeping our balance and rhythm over the trot poles. Chica is always so curious about everything else that's going on inside the riding arena. So we just try to keep her focused on what work is coming next. As soon as we started with the canter transitions, we slowly began to realize she had a lot of energy and she was ready for some work. So she started getting a little bit too strong over the poles, simply ignoring my half passes. So we had to take it back a couple of steps and simply focus on the basics again, with the trot, taking the half passes before and over the trot poles, then doing the canter transition on the right step, and then also taking the half passes before, over and after the canter poles. Chica slowly began to calm down, and we also got a very good feeling over the trot and canter poles. Then we could move on to the smaller fences. So we started with the trot and canter transition, which was kind of similar to what we had used to do, and then introduced some smaller fences. Here you can see us losing our right shoulder, and Chica also having some fun over the smaller fences. Overall, this was a really good lesson. We had a blast, and it was very fun to challenge Chica with the shoulders, especially over the last fence, with some more difficult lines and turns. As you also may see, you may notice how I try, at least, to not adjust Chica's step right before the fence. I want Chica to learn how to read the steps and adjust herself. And even though we're not quite there yet, I'm confident that she will get there eventually. And until then, we'll just keep missing our steps and knocking some poles over. That's completely fine. In between our jumping lessons, we've also had one pole work session. So if you didn't know, our weekly schedule has been like this: Monday, dressage; Tuesday, hack outside; Wednesday, rest day; Thursday, dressage; Friday, jumping lesson; Saturday, hack outside; and Sunday, pole work. The pole work has been essential to focus on our balance and transitions. I find it so good to have an additional day a week where we focus on all that is going on between the fences, without focusing on the height or difficult lines. With our pole work, we go back to basics to remind ourselves of all that we might lose once we start having too much fun jumping in the higher classes. This pole session, I had laid out 3 poles with 4 canter strides between each pole. We started working with our transitions between the poles, both canter transitions and walk transitions. After a while, we added the cavaletti, which the main goal was to jump relaxed and balanced. Chica did spook this one time at the cavaletti, which I thought was kind of a symptom of her thinking it was going a bit too fast between the exercises. We simply took it down a couple of steps, back to trot, and luckily we found the rhythm and got some well-relaxed jumps by the end. I am kind of reminded here by Chica that after all, she's not that old and haven't been doing jumping for that long either. But when we work together, she still keeps on surprising me in a good way, and you sort of forget just how inexperienced she actually is by just judging on how well she behaves. Overall, these pole work sessions has been super helpful, and also preparing ourselves for the last jumping lesson that would mark our 4 weeks of training coming to an end. And without further ado, let's get into our last jumping lesson, where we actually also got to jump around 85 centimeters. I have actually never seen a video of Chica jumping anything that big, and I think it was so fun to look at her jumping technique. Of course, hoping that we'll next year be able to do a comparison and see a positive development during this year. For this particular session, we had set up a gymnastics combination with first 2 small poles ending with a bigger fence. We started from the poles on the ground, and then we slowly built it up for around 85 centimeters. So as you can see here, Chica did have a little spook in the combination, kind of the same as previously in the pole work session. We simply here also took it back 1 step, took it down to trot and tried again. At the beginning, Chica jumped very relaxed and I was super happy with how we started, and then we got more and more into it and she was a bit more careful with her feet by the end. I think it was so fun watching the videotape back to back. I think that Chica had a great development, boosting her confidence from the pole session to this gymnastics session. So I am very confident that giving Chica a winter break will be good for her, and then she will be ready to come back. Well, there you have it, our 4-week mark. Chica will now have her winter holiday and get some rest. But I hope you stay tuned for what's to come.